So and you've already said a couple of times that you don't believe that this is airborne, and yet there again, I know how nurses are. I was one for 21 years before coming to Congress. You're protecting yourself, you're protecting your patient, you're protecting your family. They followed precautions, I am sure, and now we're having this conversation, and I'm very concerned about that.
We are confident this is not airborne.
All right, folks, he could be confident. That doesn't mean we all have to be. Joining us now is the voice you heard on that video, and that's Congresswoman Renee Ellmers, Republican from North Carolina, member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and former nurse for 21 years, as she alluded to. Hello, Congresswoman.
Hi, good to be with you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. First of all, before we get to the hearings yesterday and some other questions, the appointment of Ron Klain as a Ebola czar, quote unquote, what's your take on that? Guy has no experience in the medical profession.
He has absolutely no experience in healthcare whatsoever. He is nothing more than a political operative, and this tells me that our president is treating this as a major public relations situation rather than the major public health situation that it is.
Yeah, you would think he could have found somebody with some medical background, even someone such as yourself. Let me ask you, when you asked that question about the nurses and the protection, you know, we had one nurse talk about how. And I heard the director of the CDC tell Megyn Kelly he would walk into a room with an Ebola patient, and yes, his neck could be exposed, or his forehead could be exposed, and his feet could be exposed. I can't fathom what he's talking about. It just really, really makes you wonder.
Well, and these are my questions, and that was the line of questioning that I had in the hearing was at what point were these nurses exposed to this patient? Now, if they had been exposed to the patient in the emergency room with, you know, the initial contact and they didn't know what was happening, so they weren't taking the precautions. But this patient had already been admitted to the medical ICU unit where I'm sure that they were, you know, following the precautions. Nurses follow universal precautions. Any healthcare worker does, dealing with patients in the hospital or in any physician office. So I'm very concerned as to how this was spread, and I don't think we're getting the answers that we really need to get.
Do you believe we're not getting those answers because he has no clue, or do you believe we're not getting those answers because this is going to be a drip, 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 little bad news, little uncertainty, little change of the narrative because they don't want to create a panic, that they know more than they're saying right now?
Well, you know, and there again, we would all be speculating on that, and I know that they don't want to create a panic. I don't want to create a panic, but because they're not being forthcoming with information, they're creating a situation where they're starting to see reaction across this country. You know, Americans need to be protected. It's very much like the situation of not putting travel restrictions in place. I don't understand their rationale for not wanting to isolate it in the African countries that we already know it's there and we're helping in that effort. However, to have those individuals potentially traveling here and then exposing you know, future Americans to this disease, I don't understand that thinking at all.
Right, and we've heard, we've heard three different excuses from this CDC director. His first one was, and it was reinforced by one congressman yesterday who said he heard this from Frieden, and I played the soundbite because this was his first excuse weeks ago, that we don't want to ruin or hurt those countries' economies, which is obscene. Right. Next, his excuse was that he went on with until yesterday, really, that we won't be able to fly medical people in and out, which is ridiculous. And yesterday, under oath, he testified, he changed the narrative to we won't be able to keep track of people unless we let him in that way. So he's all over the map.
He cannot keep his story straight, as you point out. And there again, it concerns me even more, especially after having that hearing. I felt even, more strongly that we need to put travel restrictions in place. So I guess what Dr. Frieden is saying is that we want them to be coming here so that we can track them and we can track this disease. I want to protect every American, and that is the president's number one job. It is the number one job of Congress to make sure that every American family is protected. And we want to make sure that this disease is dealt with and that we eradicate it. But we have got to start somewhere, and it has to be with the safety of every American.
All right, two things. Should the Congress come back and vote on this and send it to the president if he won't do it on his own, the travel ban? And B, should Frieden step down?
Well, one, I would be happy to go back and vote on a travel ban in Congress. And there again, I'm ready to do that at any time. I think this is serious enough for the American people that we implement that. And number two, as far as Dr. Frieden stepping down, I don't necessarily know that that's the priority. I think at this point he is being told what to say, he is being told what to do, and I'm not sure that he's responding as he should to these questions. And
who, Congresswoman, who's telling him that? Is it Obama?
Well, there again, you know, the line of questioning that went forward in the subcommittee hearing by my colleague Steve Scalise from Louisiana, he was not able to give a straight answer as to whether or not these discussions were taking place, being held at the White House, and he wasn't very forthcoming with the conversation. I believe there's more to this, and there again, with the appointment of this Ron Klain as the Ebola czar, that just makes me think this is going to be all about politics rather than protecting the American people.
All right, Congresswoman, thank you so much. Congresswoman Renee Ellmers, former nurse for 21 years. We appreciate it. All right, folks, we'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. But first, you know, buying a home could be very stressful, and we're going to get you to find out some more about buying a home with this Max to Life moment. Don't go away.
House hunting shouldn't have to be a hassle. Instead of doing the things the old-fashioned way, why not put the smarts in your smartphone to work by downloading these apps?
First, every potential homebuyer needs Zillow. Zillow is the best app for comparing homes in the neighborhood where you want to live. Plus, it's got the Zestimate, which allows you to look at the estimated price of every home in that neighborhood. Then second, there's the Autodesk Home Styler. This app allows you to virtually see how furniture will look in that new home that you might buy. Third, you've got to have a mortgage calculator. There's several, such as from Quicken Loans, Trulia, or Bankrate.com.
Some other helpful apps are Redfin, HomeSnap, and Credit Karma. So whether you're a first-time homebuyer or you're just flipping through houses fast, take these apps for a test drive to help make the process as efficient and stress-free as possible.
There we have it. Hi there. President Obama issues a new executive order to tighten security on debit and credit cards. I'm Miranda Kahn. The story tops your Newsmax Now update. The order requires federally issued cards to have an internal chip, replacing the magnetic strip. Major chains will roll out chip readers for the cards by next year. Meanwhile, the president also appoints Ron Klain as a new head of the response to the Ebola crisis. Klain served as chief of staff under Vice President Joe Biden. And earlier today on America's Forum, best-selling author Dick Morris, seen here, said the appointment of that czar is a waste of time because so-called czars, as he says, never have any authority. Over in the Middle East, Kurdish fighters continue to defend the Syrian city of Kobani from ISIS militants. Earlier today, the Pentagon said the town may fall into the hands of radicals. I'm Miranda Kahn, and that was your very latest Newsmax Now update. We're going to have more coming your way in about 30 minutes.